No, I think I've got it to work now. So
do you want to go first then?
Well, yeah, let's just go first. Throw some stuff away. So what I'm doing for the past few days is trying to get data from Prometheus into Sisense, because lots of people gather data there to do many things with them. One of those things is showing the stuff on the handbook. For now, we've gotten around to showing things using the screenshots that Grafana makes and then uploading that as an artifact and then showing that on the website. But now we want to do more clever things for their budgets to show them to stage groups and so on. So we need to bite the bullet and get this information available to Sisense. The problem with that is that we don't allow just anything to access Prometheus. So when we access Prometheus as humans, we get authenticated through many complicated things involving Google and one of these other authentication things that I forgot the name of. The other way around this is using a runner in the same, like a computer in the same network. And for us, that's going to be a runner on ops.gitlab.net. So let me start sharing my screen. Am I sharing my screen?
This whole time.
Okay. So what I've been doing is building a way for people to define stuff that they want to get out of Prometheus and uploading that as an artifact from a runner or into a bucket. So that could look like this. This is a file inside the runbooks repository. The reason I'm going with the runbooks repository is because that way we can reuse queries that we've already defined, for example, for the error budget dashboards, and we don't need to copy those things over.
Monorepo.
Yeah, monorepo, it works. So yeah, a definition for the queries could look like this. It's a JSON file. You define a name, and then you define the params that you want to pass on to Prometheus. I'm currently building like validation for that, so I don't need to support all types of queries in the beginning and that kind of stuff, but we do provide feedback to people writing these queries. We've already, I've seen 3 implementations that we're going to build on top of this, and all should be covered by instant queries, I think. So
how are you doing validation?
What do you mean?
How are you going to validate the queries? I'm just curious.
That's on the left here. So I'm writing these validated things that you added. The queries themselves. No,
no, that's a way more interesting challenge.
Yeah, I know. I technically could, but too late.
No, I thought you meant the. Yeah. You could probably use prompt tool, but I don't know how.
Yeah, but not on the side that we create merge requests. That's the annoyance with this whole thing. Okay. Or we could.
I just thought you were doing something really cool, like really clever with I don't know, piping to prompt tool but yeah, that's the validator. I'm glad to see it's being used.
Well, I wish I could validate those queries, because the things that I need to work around, like for example, if you write a query, we don't know if it's going to be performant enough to not time out, to all of these things.
I saw a really nice. I now I've got to find it. I think I might have seen it on Reddit or somewhere like that.
No, yeah,
the Reddit Prometheus Reddit. But I saw a very cool tool the other day that you give it a bunch of rules, right? So you say like how maximum cardinality. It's basically like a linter, but it has to talk to your Prometheus backend. And it's got like, this is the maximum cardinality. It also had some nice things like, if you are doing 4 scrapes a minute, like don't be doing stuff with like 30-second range intervals, which is like really smart, right? Because it's pointless. It's meaningless. And so it had a whole bunch of. I'll find it, and
Yeah,
I'll ping
but
you.
some of those things are going to have the same problem that we're trying to get around here. Like if we can't
Yeah,
reach the
they can't
Prometheus
get
stuff,
to. Yeah.
we can't validate it before merging it because they'd only, yeah.
Unless we have a runner on the GitLab.com
I'd like that,
runner with
but
access.
I'd like that,
Yeah.
but I think people think it's too scary.
But Prometheus, I mean, people steal our Prometheus data through Grafana anyway, through the query bridge. Yeah, so that
Yeah.
thing. I mean, there's nothing that private in Prometheus, or hopefully not.
Yeah, well, the Grafana is the public way to access it, but even there's restrictions, I think. If you use the public dashboards.
Yeah, but you can
query
craft craft these data. That's how those people were doing bad things. You can there's an Ajax API that'll give you Prometheus queries, and you can pretty much send anything to that.
Bad things.
So on there's an Ajax interface if you want, and when you load a graph, it goes to there and provides the query and pipe and proxies that through to Prometheus, and there's no sort of request forgery on that. So whatever you send through that,
But what were people doing?
They'd automated that to fetch like 8 gigabytes of metric data a day. And it was
From
really
us.
weird. Yeah. And they'd been doing it for months.
What?
Yeah. It was like astonishing and also confusing.
Yeah.
Why?
And
Yeah.
and
Well,
and
I can tell you that at least on one occasion, we leaked a huge amount of potentially very sensitive data into Prometheus labels because of some bad decisions that were made in parsing database query logs. So that is very sensitive data that we had no way of redacting and potentially could have been, yeah.
But
we can redact if it's important enough, we can redact it, Matt. But I don't
No,
think it's
I mean,
trivial.
the historical data was exposed and we didn't have a good way to delete it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
removing
What I'm saying is
labels.
there are tools that you can use to go delete those series, but yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah.
I didn't
So
know
that's an example of why someone might want to scrape our data.
But how do they know in advance that data is there?
Because we talk about it in public issues.
Yeah. But for what it's worth, the data that they were scraping was all stuff that was exposed by Node Exporter, not our own custom. So it probably wasn't that stuff, Matt. Like luckily,
that's good.
in just by total fluke, we've managed to get away with it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm with Matt. Like it's easy to make mistakes where we do put public or sensitive data in there.
Then
Yeah.
So my take is I think it's much more important to stop Grafana and the data proxy, or at least limit that somehow, maybe with the Trickster or something like that. And there was a proposal at one stage to do that, because that's the easiest way to do it. Like anyone can do that at the moment.
Yeah.
I would say that it's less like being able to run a job in our CI that has access, that still requires another thing to be broken, and then for there to be leaked data.
No,
Yeah.
The moment when we have an explicit bridge like this, that sounds much better. I think what just comes to mind for me is that we are using tools that are designed for a certain level of trust. And because we're GitLab, we're saying everything has to be open and transparent. And then it turns out that you run into holes like this, which makes sense because the people who made Grafana probably weren't thinking of us being as open with it as we are.
Yeah. So the solution there, I think, is to and it would have to be a thing where we find the time. But the solution there would be to set up a Prometheus that scrapes from Thanos, but only scrapes recording rules and not rule metrics. So we could basically tell it to fetch all the recording rules, and then that's the Prometheus that the public refinery would
Everything
use.
public
But
uses.
And you want that anyway, because then if there's bad traffic that takes that Prometheus down, you don't have a
it's
cascading
totally
problem
isolated.
into our
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Bob, that was derailing your presentation.
No, but Andrew, this whole thing, like the part, because the way we're going to do it now, because the data team doesn't have access to ops.gitlab.net, so the way we're doing it is going to upload it to a bucket. Was part of what I was going to show. We could get rid of that whole bit and just, like, the first thing I did was upload it to artifacts, because that's easy, and then uploading it to object storage. But if you say, let's just put a runner that has the access in, like, make one available, then I'm all for that. Or is that going to take longer than...
It will take longer. Like, I think you should keep on this track, but I do think we should open an issue about being able to access Thanos from a secure runner, that you need protected branch access to basically push a CI job to, and we can start that ball rolling, because it's, even if there is leaked information, you need to be able to push to that branch. And because what it would be
that
really
sounds reasonable. Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, because what I was going to say is then we can start doing much better validation around people putting, cardinality bombs into Prometheus, and we can start looking at one of those validation tools, which we can't do at the moment.
Yeah, totally. That's I was gonna make the point about cardinality as well, and I guess the other aspect is having using a runner that's not secured against malicious abuse. Could potentially be disastrous, as we know that people actively look for ways to blind us, to hinder our observability while committing denial of service attacks. So I wouldn't want to give them another vector for doing that. But what Andrew's describing doesn't sound like it would be, a viable abuse vector. Does that sort of make sense? I'm kind of thinking of it in an adversarial context.
That makes sense to me. Thanks.
Thanks for sharing that. That gives, at least to me, that gives a sort of why someone would want to do this. So if they're trying to hijack CI minutes to do crypto mining, and we have a hard time finding out what they're doing, then they have actually something to gain from messing with our observability.
Yeah.
One question, Bob. What format are you writing it to the archive in?
JSON files.
JSON.
Yeah.
Because it would be really cool if it was open text metrics.
But we want the data team to...
Oh, sorry. I've just... sorry. My... you there? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm there.
My phone started ringing. Yeah.
So I went with JSON, and the reason is that I'm not doing anything. So I'm taking what comes from Prometheus and storing it in a file. I'm
sorry. I'm going to have to just... I have a sick son. I'm going to be right back. And he's calling me on FaceTime.
So
I think sticking with what the data team can ingest is more important, because the whole point of this is...
I think they would be able to ingest anything that we throw at them, but if we put it in another format than JSON, now I need to do more work, because now I'm not doing any work. I'm just letting Prometheus.
I think the idea, if the idea is that Prometheus data has its own format, it has the text wire format. So if we store it in the native Prometheus format, that is in a way I'm surprised that would be more work than converting it to JSON.
I'm not converting it to JSON. I'm querying the Prometheus API and storing that in a file.
Oh, the thing that comes back.
Yes.
Okay, but that's what Andrew was saying, I think. So you're already doing what Andrew was asking for.
Okay. Okay, cool. It was an accident.
No, it's not an accident, because it's the easiest thing to do, and it's also I think the most natural thing to do. And you get this side. I mean, you can then pretend it's a Prometheus server at some point.
It's not that yeah, because I broke things just before the call. I don't think I can maybe. Need the tunnel. So I'm not 100% sure that I'll be able to show it. Yeah, I broke it enough to not be able to show that, but I can show it in the ops runner that already uploaded some stuff. So it's Prometheus in this file where we allow stage groups to everybody that wants to query Prometheus and reuse it somewhere else can write queries in here. They can write, because for the purpose for error budgets and for mean time between failures, we will have multiple queries that we will want to gather together. So every, let's say, goal you have, you would create a file in here with one or more queries in it, like this. So the responses that I get back from Prometheus are wrapped in an envelope. Let's see if I can get to that. Let's see if we run this one, if it'll do the thing. That's how I'm testing the stuff, if it actually works in CI. Yeah.
I've got to run.
I hope everything's okay. Bye-bye.
No, it's not. My son has probably got COVID, and we've been keeping him in a room on his own with the window open for airflow, and the wind's come up and just ripped the window off. So I've got to sort that out. Bye.
I think I have one here that's completed, yeah. So yeah, we get the queries that are executed per file. Here it's 3 queries, and then it uploads that results into a JSON thing, and result looks like what's that file called? That looks like this. The top. So you get the query. This is like an overall field if the request succeeded, and this is the entire response with the status field added. So when we look at it later from the other side, we still have that, and it's just not just empty or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's not what I thought it would be for a moment, because like if you curl a Prometheus, I guess, well, if you do Prometheus query, okay, if you curl a Prometheus endpoint, you get a certain format. And I think it's the same format you get if you use the Prometheus web UI to get data.
That's this format. So that's the everything that is inside this body except for the status field. I know, including the status field is the response from Prometheus.
Okay.
So this is like the raw thing, and this is something that I added to. If it's not a 200 and there's nothing included, then like if there's a 500 or whatever, then there should be an error inside this body object as well. But yeah, who knows? This success will also be false if, for example, there was a timeout and there was no response at all. But then this will be empty, yeah, because we don't have one, obviously.
Well, if this is the interchange, yeah, if this is what Prometheus returns itself, then it should be fairly stable, I suppose.
I wanted to have the entire thing that Prometheus spits out like copied over in there, and everything that I add to be a level up.
That makes sense.
So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I think you have the next item, Jakob.
Well, it's a bit of a joke item, joke or not. It's been 3 months since we moved Workhorse into the main repo, which I'm not even sure if it matters, but it means that it's unlikely now that if we have to do a security release, then it's unlikely we have to do a separate Workhorse release for it anymore. So it sort of, knock on wood, means that this breaking Workhorse is behind us. But something that's broken is things like dependency scanning and security scanning. And that's because Workhorse is in a subdirectory of the main repository. And all these scanner tools expect to find metadata files for the language project at the top level. So if I move for Go, that is the go.mod file. So in that merge request, I'm trying out what happens if you move the go.mod file to the top level of GitLab or GitLab. And then GitLab or GitLab is a Go project. So that is the item I put on the thing, but it's a Go project with a where all the Go files are in a subdirectory called Workhorse. And I think that will just automatically make dependency scanning and security scanning work, which would be a good outcome. But yeah, I need to get some more feedback from the other Workhorse maintainers, but it's a little thing I'm trying, and I just wanted to share. And see if anybody would freak out about the idea of GitLab or GitLab being a Go project, but actually it's also a Python project. And
sounds like a fun experiment.
Yeah, thanks.
I turned the runbooks into a Ruby project now, so.
Exactly.
Does anybody else have anything they want to go over? Cool. Well, in that case, thanks so much for joining the call today. Hope you enjoy Friends and Family Day tomorrow. And yeah, hope you have a good weekend.